What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by DAD, Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization, and through those initiatives, this year I've been able to reach directly or indirectly over 75,000 men, fathers and dads and men around the world. And also, I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We usually do State of Things on Saturday evenings. Well, we're broadcasting live on August 15th, which is a Sunday evening. And transparent, the reason why we didn't do it yesterday, I went to a family gathering where one of my cousins celebrated his 70th birthday. And his birthday is on the same day as my younger brother. So we did a co-celebration of both of them together. It was a great family gathering. So that's why we're doing it on Sunday night. Hope everyone is fine. Hope everyone is safe. Let's do State of Things. Aisha K. Staggers and Jill D. Jones. So let's bring them to the digital stage. They're always a highlight of any day that I get to be exposed to them. So let's bring them both on. Aisha, Jill, how are you?
Good.
No.
Well, yeah, and I think that let's start right off on the bat, Aisha, and I think you have something very important to share with all our audience. So please do share.
I have COVID. So I was diagnosed with COVID. Well, my test came back positive Friday. But I went to urgent care Wednesday because I was short of breath and having chest pains and body aches. And I just wasn't feeling well overall. I got to urgent care and my blood pressure was way too high and my EKG was all over the place. Initially, they thought I was having a heart attack. So they sent me to the ER in an ambulance for symptoms of a heart attack. I got there. Those tests came back negative, thank God. And they thought then because of the chest pain I was having that possibly it was a blood clot traveling to my lungs. So that came back negative, but my chest x-ray came back with some fluid and they said that it looked like a viral lung infection. They weren't sure at the time if it was COVID related until my test came back. And so when my test came back, that's what has been bothering me. And I can tell you that it's no joke.
Wow. So we are
vaccinated, so this really isn't anything to play with.
We don't want to dwell too long about the how, the maybe, the why. We're just speaking it that you're going to be better soon, and you're going to get overcome this. We had asked Aisha before we went live, does she want to do this tonight? And she said she did. So folks, we're not forcing her at all. She wanted to do it tonight. Myself and Jill said, hey, if you don't want to do this tonight, we fully understand. So appreciate you taking the time. And Black Beauty says, well wishes for Aisha. So we are all in your corner. And wow. So with that being said, let's do, how you okay, Jill?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I got the text from her daughter that, when all of this was going on. And, it just shows you the timeline of how they diagnose these things. And then that they're not really going with the first thing of like the rapid response tests because they're actually they're flawed. They know they have to wait for that PCR.
Yeah.
I think it was just definitely concerning, particularly since, we've had it in our family and it's a lot. So then to have this, and it's just like, I don't even know this incubation period, all of these things. It's It's a lot. And then getting through the period of time waiting, because we know that it's a very funny illness. And thank God you've been vaccinated, because for
Yeah,
me, what it
it's so
says
much
is
worse.
that had you not been, oh my God. And by the way, you probably after this, well, you would have been due for a booster considering all of your immune issues
Yeah,
with allergies anyway, the allergy stuff,
yeah,
and I think we have to take this incredibly seriously. We've been trying, but some people have not made it easy, and it's unforgivable, to be honest.
yeah. And one of the things that I found out when they did my blood test in the hospitals, I already have severe anemia. My hemoglobin was very low, so that is probably why, if I was carrying it with the vaccine, that it affected me.
Hmm.
My blood count was low.
So if you are watching this live, watching this on the replay, or you're listening to this on the replay, if you pray or if you want to just say a good word for Aisha, would be greatly appreciated. T. Stevens is saying we're lifting you up in prayer right now.
Thank you.
So that's the family that we have here, and we appreciate those words, and thank you, T. Stevens. So let's get on to more trivial things in the world, but we chat about them. First off, the American Senate passing $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill with bipartisan support, and just hours later cleared the $3.5 trillion budget bill on a party line vote. So, ladies, Biden's a happy man.
Somewhat, he should be. There's other stuff going on, but yeah, I mean, I guess we're just now in the trillion. Million doesn't exist anymore.
Millions pocket change.
What's the
It
billions?
is. Oh my God. It's like they had to outpace everybody. You know how these people are. Shoot, I saw that one spacesuit costs $1 billion every time we send these people up and down. And I was like, that's going to really suck for fashion designers.
Okay, so what kind of Jill we gonna get tonight when you're in ponytails and glasses? We haven't
I
been exposed to that. We haven't been exposed to that. So is this a precursor for the rest of the conversation tonight?
And it's like 93, 90. It was like 100 and something, and now it's 6 p.m. and it's still 93 degrees. Yeah, it
Wow.
blew fuses in the house. Just like the stuff just turns off because we got a lot going, and
Yeah.
kind of scary to think that one day it may not exist for people, that they won't have this option. They're going to have to be built like armadillos. I don't know, because it's like you have to. Speaking of fashion, get an armadillo outfit.
So Aisha, I think Jill's going to be part of your recovery process. Shaking your head.
I have to say, Jill's been on it, checking on me.
But yeah, but you should have been. You've been a little like you need to rest, But I know it gets boring to just sending me all these crazy memes. Too funny. I've been hit with meme central from if I didn't see a meme, I've seen them all now. When Aisha's down for the count, she's in meme countyville. It's like, okay, wow, this is funny.
Let's get back to the trillion. So are both of you surprised as actually both of them actually finally got through? Because we've been chatting about this for a number of weeks.
I'm not surprised it got through because the infrastructure is something that Republicans want, and it would look bad on them with their people if they didn't support it. One of the things that I'm concerned about, though, is that a third COVID part hasn't been included in the bill, just because they are going to. This is a reconciliation bill. And this is their last shot at reconciliation, in that they needed to do something. They had to do it without taking care of the people who are still struggling behind this COVID thing. So people who have lost jobs, people who are with the housing crisis, the landlords, those kinds of things did not get to be part of that bill as they.
Hold on. So that hasn't been resolved yet?
No.
No.
What?
No.
That's another trillion.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. So because they didn't fold that into this part of the this bill, this infrastructure bill, as they initially planned under reconciliation, that's the one thing that I'm concerned about. But overall, Biden is happy with this, kind of token gesture.
It is a token gesture on a certain way, because that one part that Aisha's speaking about is the crucial part. I mean, yeah, okay, our bridges, our infrastructure, our airports, all of that stuff. Yes, that's important. But they've had, these companies also, they have money in store and in stock, and they could have allocated it many, many times. I think giving them more money is a big concern, because they don't put deadlines on when they need to use the money, and that didn't change.
Right. And also, too, it's concerning because who's going to get these government contracts to do
boy.
Is it going to be the big companies and corporations?
Oh, boy.
Right. And I think they should reward small business or other businesses that suffered through COVID or are now coming back, that took a hit or did some great things. In my opinion, those companies should get the government contracts. I think they should award those RFIs and RFPs for that kind of stuff, because that's just, now we're going to see the politics of the politicking going on.
Right.
And that's what the disgusting part I don't like.
Yeah, and that's why I think there was probably some compromise there, which allowed the Republicans to sign on to it. So that
and they all probably are happy on both sides, the Dems and the Republicans, because on this level, when it comes to banking, law, and all the other stock market, they're all in, because they all are millionaires, and they're all trying to become just a billionaire, a few of them. You understand? They still see themselves as low men on the totem pole. They're talking about trillion, and that's their aim. Now we know, because they're talking about something that can be attainable for them to fix the system for themselves and award their friends, keep them in business, get their stock tips. It is a little paltry when you look at particularly people who own homes and mortgages were not satisfied or helped.
Right.
And they are literally going after their homes right now. I know a few people who have DM'd me about this.
Yeah. And let's be clear, they did not have to get bipartisan support for this infrastructure bill, because they're doing it under reconciliation.
Right.
They could have just done it.
So in the scheme of things, historically, will this be a major moment in the Biden presidency?
I think he'll tout it as one.
Yeah. And I think if people aren't paying attention that much and they're okay with the okie doke, yeah, that'll be it. And it'll get diluted down so much that and pumped up so much on certain levels that it'll seem like, oh, it was such a great thing. And on some levels it is, but then on other levels, if somebody really cares about you, they'll move mountains to make it happen. And bipartisanship should have never been on the table ever for anything, because this was a moment when you need your hero to walk in and kick the gun out of the villain's hands, not to negotiate with him while you're standing there suffering for like 6 months. And that's how I feel this happened. And Biden just didn't get that part of it. This was a badass moment that should have been like, yo, we're all friends here, but this is the right thing to do. And I want to make sure all these people get money, not $1,000 that was months ago. I mean, can they live on 1,000? And this has nothing to do with Dems or Republicans. They're all the same on that. You guys have seen my tune change a bit on that. Yeah. They're all the same. Now the politics starts because they got that money.
Yeah. This really is, if you look at it the way it is now, because it's bipartisan. It's the flip side of Trump touting his tax cuts. He's like, it's the tax cuts. But when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it was a tax cut for the rich. When you look at this bill, it's an infrastructure bill with bipartisan support, but it's an infrastructure bill that is missing the hardcore part that it needed to address the immediate needs people have now in this pandemic. Because, for example, you have a lot of small businesses, construction businesses, who went out of work because they had to shut down for a year because everything was shut down, and they're trying to get their bearings. But are they going to be able to compete for this funding? Are they going to be able to put people back to work? And then you have people who have been home going back to work. You've also got to deal with the fact that in this bill, there also should have been allowances for people to be able to collect unemployment who have to pull their kids out of school because of the mask, because their schools won't mask up. And are putting them at risk for COVID. Because, what if you have a single mother whose kids, there's a COVID outbreak at the school. She wants to pull her kids from the school, but she can't afford to not work.
Right.
So there were no allowances for that in this bill. And those were things that were actually promised to be in this bill originally. But they've chopped it down so much to appeal to Republicans that this really could have been a great moment if they just followed along reconciliation like they were going to and just really kick it in. Because remember, Chuck Schumer had been talking about, we're going to do this for families.
Why did you bring up that name tonight with a lady in the ponytail and the glasses? Now trouble begins. Here we go. You see that was your verbal meme. Okay, go on.
I know.
He's a really slick shark. Remember, he was shucking and jiving in his very white man way about we're going to have this and this and this and this in the bill, but he didn't have. But it's not there.
No.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's not, and it's really unfortunate because he's prattling on about something he's mad about now that he wants. He's upset that China has been putting out counterfeit COVID vaccine things. It's like, man, would you, this is the problem with him. He takes on the smallest nonsensical issues. Like, I think a doorman can tell you when somebody's got a fake ID. Okay? Why? This is why he's the wrong person for it. He has to deal with nonsense. It's bullshit. I mean, that is our Senate. What is he called again? The speaker,
majority
leader. And he's going to be, I'm really upset with China and these Chinese counterfeiters. Dude, they just caught Russia trying to cut cables at the bottom of the sea today. You want to talk about some serious stuff? That's for the internet that different corporations have put together. I mean, can you be more empty-headed and stupid?
The cards are easy to detect with the misspellings. I mean, that's nothing to be concerned about.
No,
be concerned about the fact that you still can't get anything passed
at all, and that he has no relationships that are decent or thriving with anyone else in another party, in Republican Party or anything. He's not well respected. They may like him very much, and they may ask him when they need, what color should my suit be today, or whatever.
Or advice on Jewish holidays, but they don't ask him anything else.
I know.
And we didn't even deal with the 3.5 trillion budget on the party line vote. Think about that. That was a party line vote.
We didn't, and we never will, because their idea of infrastructure is to now everybody's been sick, their immune systems are weakened from something, and now we're going to just build infrastructure and everybody's going to get out there and do construction, by Jove. What's so disgusting about the Dems and the Republicans is that they haven't taken into account how other people make a living. They didn't give money to the arts programs. They didn't make sure with COVID, any solution oriented. issues, they never have a solution. Musicians can't play gigs. It finally took musicians to finally start saying, yo, you're not coming in here if you're not vaccinated. End of story. And that's the way it's going to be to these concerts, because we will be sitting here for 10 years later waiting on the Republicans, because they're fine and dandy with all of us getting out there and digging ditches for a living, because the only people that they are looking out for is Main Street, USA, and corporate America. That's who they want to get back to work, those people. And the hell with the rest of you who have other artsy jobs or some other type of job that they don't consider fighting for.
Yeah.
So
And
they
Main
can all
Street, they
go
don't
to hell
even
as far
care.
as I'm concerned.
Main Street, they don't even care if you get sick.
Yeah,
if you get sick
exactly.
and die, your kids get sick and die, they don't care. They just want you to go back to work so that they can make their money at the top.
Yeah, they don't care. And we know that. That's why, the general consensus, which is very, very interesting, I've been hearing lately from the African American community, and it's not a movement going on. It's just a vibe. Lately, people have been not watching white TV shows, tuning out and saying, I can't deal with these people. And they don't mean it. They just said, they're a lot right now. And like, I just can't. There are people who are not going to, if people are wondering like, wow, I have a really up and coming restaurant and it used to be booming and zizzing in a really diverse neighborhood. Most African Americans now are going into this nucleus with our own, because it's been a lot. There's just too abusive elsewhere. And it's been a running stream of things, where you're just like, I can't take it. I just don't want to hear their problems.
That's
There's
the
too
one
much
thing
of
that
them.
lockdown did do for us, is that we recognized how many microaggressions we were suffering on a daily basis that we just don't want to deal with anymore, to go back into a world where we had to deal with daily microaggressions, racial microaggressions and racism,
Right.
that it's like, oh my gosh, that stress was lifted off of us. And it's like, I don't want to go back into that
And it's
anymore.
true. You're so right, because you go and you have a conversation with Caucasian people who've gone through this whole thing, and everybody's gone through it, but everybody is dealing with it in a very different way. And I think the African American community sees it as there's going to be an incredible change, and it's never going to be the same because it was never all that great anyway. And then the Caucasian people want it to all be back. Like, can't we just get back to normal? And there is no normal. We have another fringe in America that is like talking to a box of hair. And they are, honestly, it's like they have gone in with their own ice picks, not even using ice picks, and given themselves lobotomies in the bathroom. I don't even know what to say about them anymore. I had to go offline for like a week because I needed to reset, because I really did not know that American people were this dumb. Like, this many of them were dumb. It's not a mental health issue. It's actual unintelligent people. They're dumb, their rationale, their cognition. There are some who have mental issues, but guys, some of them, let's just call it what it is. It's like, there's some of them are really just stupid. They can look at a picture. This is when the teacher used to call you up and stand you up in front of the class and ask you to read something, to say what it was about. Those were very important moments, because you got to understand how, were you reading the paragraph? Is it saying what I think it's saying? You put these people didn't have that. It's like a bunch of feral humans raise these people, and they're feral. They are feral. What do you do with that? These are so feral, they won't even come to you like a cat. You put food out, they don't care. You put vaccines out, they don't want it. And they're also unfit parents. They'll let their kids die, because I actually believe some of them don't want to be parents anymore and want their children to die, because we've seen a few of them spinning out and killing their own kids now because they think they're reptiles. That is willful ignorance. And there's a big difference for me into calling people, they're mentally,
Yeah.
So
They're not
Aisha,
mentally ill.
Aisha, with these two bills being passed, are there winners, losers? Because the way both of you are talking about it, it looks like the Republicans in the long run will be able to tout their horn on this.
Yeah, they'll be. It's like they will be able to say that they had a bipartisan moment. They will be able to
Yeah.
say that they had a bipartisan moment, and that, see, it's not us that can't work with Democrats. It's Democrats that can't work with us. That is how they will be able to spin it.
But it was all for materialistic gain. So they should
Exactly.
never go too far. It was still an inhumane moment because
Yes.
they held so firm and dug in so hard. So for me, the Democrats shouldn't be celebrating as much as saying, well, this is what we could get from them.
Yeah.
And that's the spin. It shouldn't be like, wait, we got it. It should be like, those bastards, this is why you're getting this and not this, because those
Right.
bastards only care about their pockets, their this, their that. I wouldn't be celebrating. It's not the
Right.
time to pull out,
They
the
would not allow.
champagne.
Right.
It's more of a chartreuse and absinthe moment in America for,
Yeah.
and if I had real absinthe, I'd probably drink the whole drippy thing because you have to almost feel like you're on something here. It's worn people down
Yeah.
so much.
It's like someone saying that they're going to give you a full meal, but they only end up serving you a piece of bread.
Oreo cookies. Yeah. Here's
Yeah.
some Oreos,
Yeah. They're
It's
promising
like
you a
that
big
bad
old steak
Thanksgiving
dinner, and then
dinner.
they just give you water.
Yes. It reminds me of Thanksgiving. Somebody invites you, hey, you want to go to my parents' home for thing? You're like, yeah, that sounds great. And you get there and they've got all sorts of stuff that you don't eat. And you never, you're like, what? Macaroni and cheese with condensed milk in it? Oh, okay. That's what this feels
Or
like
green
to
bean
me.
casserole.
Yeah, and or it's just something that is just not,
Potato
it
salad
wasn't
with
for
raisins.
us. It's like they're breadcrumbing us. And there is something in the tarot cards. There is an actual card where it shows the man giving breadcrumbs to a person. And that card is about leading you just to keep you coming back. They don't give you too much, just enough that you need them. And it is that should be put on a flag in America and say, "This is America. We breadcrumb."
I mean, I advise it's
Show
tedious
you right.
language. It's tedious language, but I advise everyone to go and read the infrastructure bill, and you'll see that there's nothing in there that's really, really going to help the lay people, as Chuck Schumer and everybody promised would be in it. Because they said, we're going to help you. There's going to be a third COVID. We're going to get through with the infrastructure bill and reconciliation, and it's not there.
No,
Wow. All right.
it's a
Well,
disappointment.
let's move up to our next conversation piece. And before we go there, some more comments here. Blue Rains, prayers to you, Aisha.
Thank you.
Jen saying prayers going up, my dear friend.
Thank
And
you,
then
Jen.
T. Stevens saying Jill's right on point about the mental cognitions of a lot of these people. I see it every day too.
Mhm.
So there we go. Next up, and this happened in the last week, but because like it almost seems like years gone by, Andrew Cuomo resigns. And
I know.
so
We
and I
talked
did a
about this, the women, last week.
right
I
and
know.
for folks, I did a promo for tonight, and I said the wrong Cuomo.
Oh,
I
you
mentioned
said
his father in my
Mario.
mistake.
You
I
said
just went,
Mario?
oops. Yeah, I went, oops.
Mario Cuomo
But there's so
resigned.
many
Did he
Cuomos.
really?
But so, folks, when you heard that he had resigned, thoughts?
I was mad.
I
Why?
was too.
Why?
Because I felt like he was being pushed out, another Democrat being pushed out, because this, to me, this and the California recall seemed like to me that the Republicans really have their hands in trying to get these two big Democratic stronghold states, the governors, out. And because I look at the woman who's replacing him, she can easily be beaten by
Oh yes.
by a Republican.
Easily.
Um,
And she should not run.
and she should
They
not.
need
She
to
should
find
not
somebody
run.
else. She's not strong enough.
No, she's not a strong enough candidate. But also, too, remember last summer when they were calling him the Love Gov all
Mhm.
summer long? Where were these reports of sexual harassment. That would have been a perfect time to bring them up all the time. He may not have handled the resignation part, the announcement part well. And the announcement itself may not have come, but he was pissed. He was angry, and he did not hide his anger. The one thing that people are saying, oh, well, we don't really, and he said he didn't understand that things have changed. Well, the whole thing is that this whole Me Too thing, it really, the way that it has been co-opted by white women, it really is difficult to understand. I'm sorry,
Right.
as a Black woman, I have difficulty understanding how white women perceive certain things as sexual harassment. Things that, to me,
Ciao, Bella.
I
I mean, that was like,
I
yo,
don't
that's
understand.
crazy.
But
Don't go to Italy.
I also had some issues with one of the women, the picture on her cell phone that her friend took of her with Andrew Cuomo. It was almost like a setup. But
Yeah.
I wonder why the powers that be pushed him out, because because the other thing too is that you have 11 accusations. Only one woman filed actual criminal accusations. The only reason that he resigned is because the DA in Albany is pursuing a criminal case against him because of the one woman who filed charges. Yet the
Right.
other 10 have not filed charges. As a person who's a survivor of sexual assault, I didn't run to the newspaper first, even though it was a person of some authority. I did not run to the newspaper. The first place I went was to a law enforcement to see what could be done. And it just, I don't get the reason why these women continue to go to the media and have yet to go to law enforcement, except for the one. And I'm not even sure about this particular one, but the Albany DA going after him for criminal charges is the only reason that he really resigned.
Jill?
Yeah, I think that reason was, once that happened, I think that was the final push, and because now they've since decided on the investigative arm of things that they're not going to move any further
Oh
investigation
no!
on it.
Has that been decided? That
I
they're
think
not
there was
going
a
to go.
conversation. I'm not sure.
Well,
I thought I heard today that it was.
Well, it's
because
not.
They're saying that impeachment is being weaponized, and that they weren't. That the whole point is that it wasn't even constitutional in a sense because he was a governor, and
Yeah.
if they're making the same claims for Trump because he was a president, then there's something wrong here, and it needed to be sorted out. That they can't do that because this is the craziest thing is that Trump was impeached because of the quid pro quo. He committed an actual crime that we didn't get him on his sex stuff. That's separate. That's
didn't get
criminal.
Clinton on his sex stuff.
No.
Clinton on perjury.
Exactly. So for me, I don't want to know. This was an HR issue, in my opinion. This was the type of, it happens in every organization. There's some great people in great leadership positions that are just horrible human beings. And I got a long list. I could break people's hearts if I wanted to. But it doesn't mean that, and they haven't committed crimes. They're either, obnoxious, they're rude, or they're racist. There's so many different things that will make people conform to why they keep somebody on a staff or why they keep people. Because a lot of times it's based upon what their output, their impact, what it's going to do for them. People in businesses make decisions like that every day. It also takes months and months and months and months to get rid of somebody in corporate America once it goes through HR. you'll be sitting there looking at the same person that you had an issue with for months and months and months. And ultimately, the contract runs out and it goes away very quietly. This was an HR issue. And until these women start, I almost feel like the Harvey Weinstein case was like a running test to see how to game that out. As I've mentioned, I do and have heard of a few of the chicks in that group who willingly went along with things and talked smack behind. And, you know, this is Hollywood. This is what it is. But I don't want to go too far on that. But my whole point is with the women, I can't just believe the women. I mean, things have happened to me too. And I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm just going to say it. Did I, you know, rape is a different thing. I've mentioned before, my mother was raped. How she handled it was incredibly very different and very old school. People would be surprised because she read the room and she knew as a Black woman what she had to do. I just think that the Karens and the Nancys and the Beckys are having a very difficult time. And I also think that there's a little bit of privilege involved in some of the claims are ridiculous because, and it's not just directed at men either in corporate America anymore. It's everywhere. Like you can say something in a group now and that's, you know, from my generation and they're offended. And it's HR worthy, believe me. Some of the stuff, you know, which is why it's like, well, hell, I'm not going to turn you on to any Prince music. You're going to have a bunch of about 10 kids. So this was my problem about it. We have a generational gap. We also have opportunistic women. We also have people who want their 15 minutes. We also have legitimate leches. We also have women who sleep with guys and get remorse the next day and basically come back and ruin a guy's life because it would be Aziz Azaria or Rees or whatever his name is, the comedian. I could never get my head around the fact that a woman would actually be in the middle of telling a guy no and then say, well, I agreed to it. And then she still got legitimacy because the next day she said she felt bad about it and didn't like the fact that he pressured her or he was begging. Begging and raping are very different things. I have a big issue with that because I don't know the mental capacity of these women. They're, you know, and what's happening is my nephew, they've all the boys are just kind of like, it's going to be the girl trying to pick up a guy. But we need a movement of men to start going on for the women. I keep telling you, Dr. Vibe, get your men together and start calling women out for objectifying men. If you don't, you're going to have a runaway train with a bunch of puritanical, twisted, tight-ass women who don't understand nuance, who don't understand culture. You know, you would think, and I'm not saying a guy pawing on you or whatever, but first of all, how long? I mean, should I go all the way back to these cases? No, these cases that they're pulling up. It's like, why didn't you go and tell anybody? Oh, now you don't want to take it to your grave.
But we also need a group of women my age and Jill's age that are telling them, like, okay, you know what? You might wake up the next day and be like, yeah, I really didn't care. I really regret that. But it wasn't rape. It was something you did.
You know, that stuff comes from religion. It comes from twisted religion, religious guilt, religiosity. I've been known many women who can't own the fact. It's like some people can own having a one-night stand. Some people could never get their head around it. And the next best thing was to be like, well, that was really not, you know, they had to have been attacked. They had to have been pressured because it relieves their guilt. This is a really big problem. And it's something really, something needs to be done.
We need to have, again, one of our special conversations all around this subject. We need to really have a really big, because I know a lot of men that are frustrated to heck. They don't want to go near a lady because rightly or wrongly, sometimes what a lady says can damage a man's career for life, and he's done nothing.
I agree. So and a lot of the young boys in my family's life have said the same. They don't even ask a girl for a cup of coffee because
No.
we've also had this thing where we've on media and everything had these precocious girls and the this and the bachelors and the this. There's so many
Well,
mixed messages happening. It's got to be for real. There's so much
I,
shame behind sex. It's so unreal.
but
You
it's
know?
interesting I think it's bad for men, but I think it's even another level for black men.
Oh,
That's a whole
please.
that's a
That's a
whole
whole other
other
conversation.
that's a whole other conversation. And
you know,
I don't think we should stop now because we will divert. So let's get back to Mr. Cuomo. First of all,
I
the
have
lady
to
that
hear 11 women. I have to hear all from all of them because I just don't believe people that I've never met. I don't know them. And I don't know what happened. I know his side, but I'd like to hear theirs. And theirs seems a little like milk toast. And like some of them seem a little bit like, girl, please. Ciao, Bella. Flipped you out.
what about
He
so
put his hand like the one he put his hands on my face and I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. I had a dance teacher that used to like he would take your arm to lift your arms up and
Can't
he
do
would
it.
come under your armpit and it would be like near your breast, but he was trying to lift your arms up. It would be major uncomfortable. Was it sexual harassment? No, it was dance training, but it felt
Well,
uncomfortable.
you
It's
said
like,
something. Other people could see that. Some people make things dirty. I'll be honest. Some people have really short waists too. I'll be really honest. And I'm very short waisted. So if you put your hand around my waist, because it's really short, my
yeah,
hip comes very up high.
yeah.
So it would be like you're on my hip, but a dude wouldn't know that until he put his hand around my waist. It's literally, therefore, on my hip. Now, if I had a long ass waist, no, waist is a waist. So I was like, the short waisted girl might have had a problem. Now if she has a long, I have to see her physically to know if that was possible.
So let me ask you, what do you feel is Como's future? Do you see him be like if he doesn't get impeached or barred from running again? Do you see him running again?
no. They don't.
No. Why would he want
They
to?
tarred and feathered him. He's
Yeah.
done.
Who do you feel like? It's a Kathy Hochul, I think the lady's name, is replacing him till the next election
Next year.
next year. How do you feel about her? And are there other contenders?
Well, here's the thing. Well, I have two points to make. The first one is that people who are outside of New York State are seeing this differently than it is playing in New York State. I want to make that very clear
Okay.
because I'm hop, skip, and a jump from New York State. I get New York news,
Right. Tri-state
and
area.
and it is playing differently in New York than what is being said on national news. So when you're watching your CNNs, your MSNBCs, what you're seeing is different than what I see on Channel 7 News, okay, from New York.
Okay.
And you also have to remember that New York is more than just New York City.
Yes.
Okay. When you go out into Albany and Rochester and all of that, you're talking more rural. You're talking more of your blue dog Democrats. You're talking more of your Republicans. Okay. And even when you go into the Hamptons, you're talking about more of your conservative, center left Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So this lady here, I don't think, and you also to remember, New York City voted for a center left mayor. Okay,
Right.
they didn't do the progressive choice, which would have been Maya Wiley.
Right.
So got to keep that take all that into consideration when it comes to who they're going to vote for governor. And this lady, even though she is very center left, she is a very weak choice. She's not very strong. I listened to her talk about this whole situation with Andrew Cuomo resigning, and I was just like, she's a goner. She's just going to be there for this.
So the Republicans are just waiting for this is their opportunity.
They are, and the thing is that they're not gonna find someone with national recognition. Okay, they're gonna find someone who is a New York State darling. a Republican who has
Yes, they will.
So if you don't think Kathy Hochul is strong enough, do you have alternative choices?
I don't.
I don't.
I don't know who it would be.
I thought you ladies would bring up a name, especially Aisha.
Who?
Oh, Tish James.
Ah,
No, but I think she would stay right where she is.
But the governor can get rid of her.
Yeah, that's the other part. Well, no, she's an elected.
Oh, is she? Okay.
She's elected, so thankfully the governor can't get rid of her.
But she won't be elected if she doesn't do anything with Donald Trump.
Exactly, and that's why I think that she won't run for
not yet
for governor just yet. I think that she would run after she did something with Donald Trump and run on that.
Okay. So Blue Rain says, that Kathy Hochul was on the Today Show, and when pressed, she said she is going to run for re-election.
She should not.
Oh.
Right. She would be playing herself.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility that New York... Go ahead.
Because you've got to also look at the amount of people that have left New York. They were Democrats. They were constituents on that level. There's a lot of money coming in. There's a lot of hedge funds buying up houses for people that they're most likely going to put Republican Party buyers living in these places across the country. That's why the hedge funds are in there buying all this property, because that's another way to gerrymander. If you can't lick them, join them, go, and then you just put people there.
Here, I want to mention this too.
Yeah.
Remember, Republicans did this before in New York State to the last Democratic governor, Eliot Spitzer.
They did.
They did.
They sure did.
They got rid of him.
And I didn't care that he was sleeping with hookers. I had no problem at all. It's not my business.
They made sure that got exposed.
They
and
did.
Then Patterson took over for him. Patterson couldn't run again.
I don't even remember.
He couldn't run.
Yeah, that was a blur.
And that's how they got Cuomo.
Mm-hmm.
And now they did this. Now the same thing's happening to Cuomo.
Yeah, it's
you can't tell me it's not a plot.
Because it worked before.
Can't wait to hear when his brother comes back on CNN tomorrow.
Oh, is he coming back tomorrow?
Yeah, he's back. He's coming back from a vacation celebrating his 51st birthday.
That was unfair for people to blame him. That was unfair for people to say he couldn't defend his brother. I'm like, yo, who wouldn't? You know, we got every
lawyer in the family.
Lawyer and on TV is a lawyer. You know, are you kidding me? Please. Every politician has a law degree. That should tell you all one thing. They're the worst. Liars.
It's like either back in the day they used to all be farmers.
There you go.
And now they're all lawyers who know how to twist the word. And you know, I've met a few good lawyers in my life, but I have to say, for the most part, not many. They're typically spineless. They're followers, and they're scavengers, because a lawyer is a scavenger that knows how to survive and twist whatever they need to make it
so much
stick.
for getting a law company sponsoring us after that comment. I'm just joking. It's all right. It's okay. Well, look, folks, we're going to take a bit of a break. We're on State of Things August 15th. And thank you for all the comments. Keep them coming, folks. Now, when we come back from our break, last week also, the census release in America showing what's going on in America. What a surprise. It's getting less and less white in America. What are the repercussions? We'll talk about it on State of Things with Aisha and Jill. Keep it locked. So ladies, what is going on?
Just that he needs to get it together.
Sick of that. I am sick of it.
Something is seriously wrong with you.
Why is he still there?
She shouldn't be near Congress.
You need an exorcism, because I don't know what is wrong with you people.
It was so powerful.
And I really wish everybody would stop bowing down to this.
What is he talking about? This makes no sense.
They know they are not the oppressed party, but they love being the superior ones, and they want to flaunt it.
So it was always made political, particularly for people of color, and the LGBTQ population.
We end off every episode with a cockroach. This episode's cockroach.
Everything.
Everything?
All the things are going on.
All the things.
Mhm.
All right, folks, we're back.
Have some bit of news.
What?
I just heard from Black Beauty. I saw a comment.
Yeah.
She said that her internet is out since Friday. They had a storm back east somewhere, and she was having difficulty watching on YouTube, so she might have to catch us on the repeat.
Sorry, Black
Aw.
Beauty, in regards to that. And I'd say I always love that promo because I've never heard anyone in my life never say, "You need an exorcism." I've never heard that in my life. Like
In a promo.
I wait for that line in that promo because I say, did I? Because I just really say, I've never heard anyone say that. Like movies, television, like that's the line of the century. You need an exorcism. Like, wow, I've never heard that.
You know, in The Exorcist, one of my favorite scenes, my daughter and I have this running joke all the time. I don't know why we're all, and I don't even know if she's seen the movie, but it's maybe she did with her friends. But I'm always like, Davey, why you do this to me?
Here she
You
goes.
know, when the
goes
mother
her.
was like, Davey, why you do this to me? And we just have that thing where we sometimes call each other and just go, Davey, why you do this to me?
Jill, your entertainment days are far from over. Just know that. They're far. I think the next level is coming with the way you're on fire these days. The next level. Well, let's get back to the regularly scheduled program, as we call it.
You feeling
And-
okay, Aisha?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
Yeah,
won't
I
be
just
on
took
for
an
too much
inhaler.
longer. We won't be on for too much longer. Well, last week, census released in America. And it's showing, surprise, surprise, America's more diverse and multiracial than ever. Is that a good thing, ladies?
It's a good thing for the country. However, it's going to make Republicans more determined to fix races and to gerrymander districts.
Yeah.
Because it's like that is their thing. Whiteness is their thing. And clinging to it is their thing. And I don't think that they were anticipating that, but we are here. The projections back in the 90s were that by 2020, the country would be like 52% of the country would be of color. And here we are. So, you know, this is why the whole CRT thing is really one of their talking points.
True.
They knew this was coming.
Yeah.
True.
And remember, they stopped this. They didn't even really let everybody finish it. So God only knows how big the difference, the gap really
That's
is.
true. That's true. They never,
Exactly.
because of COVID and of the previous administration was doing everything in their power to,
Stop
well, they
it.
actually cut down the count. The time the count was being done.
Yes, they did. Totally.
That's a good point, Jill. That's a very good point. Could you, if these numbers are showing this, what were the real numbers?
Well,
And the
yeah,
thing is
they
that these
also
numbers probably
scare
came in.
They also have Black people in the community, and different minority communities. Don't fill it out, because if you do, ICE will come. If you do, this will happen to you. If you do, you know, that's all these little things that government does. They create the boogeyman. And the reality is y'all need to be filling it out, because it's so crucial and so important to see how your monies are getting allocated in your region.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. People don't know the importance of that.
That's how
No, they think it's
people
just a
don't.
way they're going to try to track us. Remember, that was another one. They're tracking us with the census that they've been doing since like the 1800s. I go on ancestry.com. What were they tracking them with? Dog and pony, horse, you know, sleuth, detective. I don't know.
They kept better slave records than they do with the census.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
so much.
wow.
Oh, wow. It's true.
Wow, that's true.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Wow.
it's really, really horrific. But I think it's kind of exciting that, you know, there are, but don't forget, this is what they've used as their narrative in the white community, that they're outpacing us. They're
Taking over. They're stealing our country, unquote.
So it only plays more into a narrative of a very frightened group of people And, you know, the worst thing is that when they create these areas with, like, you know, San Francisco and New York and all these high money rolling places, you could be misled into thinking that, you know, that the white is the dominant force, but
Mm-hmm.
not so much.
Yeah.
But that being said, I just don't think all the time that people are making decisions based upon their race. But they're making it with their pocket in mind. And I think what's really kind of cool, though, is that we have some really cool people in this country from all over the world with these really great cultures. And I don't know why they're so afraid of it, to embrace that. I just don't get it.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just reading some stats from this article that people of color represented 43% of the total population of the U.S. in 2020, up from 34% in 2010. The non-Hispanic white share of the U.S. population fell to 57% in 2020, shrinking by 6 percentage points since 2010. The largest decrease of any race or ethnicity. The share of those who identified as Hispanic or Latino or Latino or as multiracial grew the most. So,
they're also killing off their people too. Let's not forget that they killed off like a lot of them,
and that's the undercount.
Yeah,
43% is the undercount. So imagine if they hadn't stopped, we probably would have reached that 52.
Right.
Yeah, it's just really, really interesting what's going on in America, and we'll see what.
And that's also behind that insurrection.
Yes,
this taking over of the country, this whole take our country back
movement. That's right. When you see online, some brothers are out there telling folks, bring it. They ain't joking with these people. If they really want to go there, I don't advise it, because these are the people that just filled out the damn forms. So
right.
Let's not forget the ones that didn't, just because, you know, they're sitting back in the cut watching all this stuff go down.
So let me ask, and if you're watching this live on the replay, you see it on the screen. If you're listening to this, listening, you can't see it, but let's look at something and let's talk about Black Americans. Their percentage of the population, American population, was 11.9% in 2020. It actually dropped 2 percentage points from 2010. Now, looking at Hispanic American or Latino, 17.3% in 2010, 19.9% or 19.5% in 2020. What does this mean for Black Americans as regards as a voting bloc or power bloc in America, when now they are basically third, for lack of a better term, third on the totem pole?
They are.
Well, that's not necessarily true, because the census does ask people if they are biracial. So you might have people checking 2 or more races, but identify as Black socially.
Okay.
So but the census,
that's a wide gap, though.
But the census doesn't tell that story. Do you see what I mean? So that, because it doesn't tell that story, the percentage actually might be bigger of people who identify as Black. It doesn't ask people, what do you identify as?
They need to ask if the mother or the father, which one's Black, because I find not everybody, but when the mother's Black, the kids pretty much stay. You know, they're a little bit more, you know, I don't know. They will never deny their Black heritage. But when the mother's kind of white or another one, it can get a bit strange. There's a lot of sometimes insecurities and not looking like your mom, because we know we have our mom issues anyway. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I do think that there will be a little tension in the bloc trying to nab those Hispanic voters. And we have to also deal with the fact that most of them are Catholic and don't want abortion. So there's going to be a little bit of bending of the willow to meet them and greet them. I don't see the generation of Hispanics changing. I see a lot of adoption as far as of the last generation's traditions to the latest yes, I'm not, they listen to all similar music as everybody, but I don't see, traditions changing as far as I see it. It could become a problem. That's for sure. I think for the Democratic Party.
Do either of you well, I was going to say, do either of you see this as an impact on the midterms coming up in the new year?
No.
Do you think the Republicans will use?
No, and one of the reasons I don't think that they will is because they have committed to not reaching out, period, to any party, any person or group of color. They are solely committed to appealing to white angst.
Okay.
They have.
Although there's a guy called something Moon, and he's Asian and Caucasian, and he was part of the Proud Boys yesterday, and he totally identifies as a white militia guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've seen him, but there is. I mean, they have really committed to really addressing the
drill down.
Yeah, they doubled down on white angst, and so those are the people that they target. They're not really interested in becoming a big tent party.
You know what I'd like to see more of in this country, or even on media, or different conversations that need to be had, would be psychologists speaking about this that's happening, where you have the mixed racial cultures happening and how they are representing themselves within the community or identifying. I think it's equally as important as trans rights and everybody else's damn rights too.
Well, that's another conversation too, because certain agendas are getting highlighted more than other agendas.
Absolutely. And I think that we need to know, some people are like, just let everybody be free, peace, love, and whatever. But the minute somebody has a fight with somebody and it's a serious fight, it can always revert into these racial undertones or overtones. But I do think we need to talk about it, because I think we need more philosophers to have conversations. When a country is without any philosophy or without that, you're dead. You're dead in the water. We've known that. You need to have some kind of alternate thinking. And I'm not talking some freako who decided to write a book and put out something and just for poop and giggles, Yeah. I'm saying we need to have a little more of that, because we are going to face some kind of transition. We also need more sociologists who are looking at how these people got here, particularly they've just left. A lot of them may have immigrated here. So if they have, then those traditions falling away, where they're the woman, going, well, I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone of tradition and voting for women's rights. There's just different types even staggered in that community because of where they're coming from. And all of it needs to be factored in. But the Democratic Party is going to have to court these. A lot of young women in that community do not believe in abortion. And if that's always going to be the sticking point I can't believe that America's still haggling about this. When I'm sitting here looking at something like, Selma Blair, not to bring up the actress, but she has a documentary coming out, I think in a couple of months, and she has MS. And the trailer is unbelievable. But she went somewhere to get the stem cell research, whatever she needed, or she would have died. And but we've had a real negative view of our science and life and what is living and our quality of life, and these things need to be discussed.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here.
Yes, it is. Right. We got to get some psychologists.
We have the conversations that a lot of people aren't having or not willing to do live. So that's why we're here. That's our role. Yes. Before we move on to the next conversation topic, Blue Rain says Republicans would rather keep blacks and Hispanics from voting than appeal to them.
True. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. All right. Next up. And I'm trying to understand what is going on in Afghanistan. What is going on? Like now, obviously, the Taliban has taken it over completely now.
Yeah.
And it seemed to happen.
The president moved out of Kabul.
Wow, when they showed them marching into the presidential quarters, I thought it was the insurrection all over again.
Yeah.
It looked very similar. It looked like the same walk, the same, like, yeah, okay, leveling up, walking in there, like, yeah, okay, this is ours. What did we expect? Anybody who actually is surprised by this has had their head somewhere that it didn't need to be. I don't know how long America was supposed to stay there. I mean, it was a war that Bush and Cheney got us in, and nobody knew how to get us out of it. It was a really bad thing. Look at what Russia has been dealing with Afghanistan. And there was who was the politician that always said about Afghanistan, it will beat you every time. There's an old, was it Stalin? Somebody was like saying there's something about Afghanistan and the land. It's like it will beat you every time, because it dragged Russia for a long ass time.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Aisha.
George Bush made that mistake of saying mission accomplished, threw a couple bombs and said mission accomplished, and and tricked the American people into thinking, okay, this was over, but continued to occupy the territory. Went in there with no plan of getting out and no plan of doing anything in the country. There, no nation building, nothing really. It was just to drop some bombs in retaliation.
Well, what I'm hearing is that the present American government got totally taken off guard on this, because they thought they could train the army that was left there, and they got wiped out.
Well, you can only help people who want to be helped, and in the last 20 years, we've seen what we've seen from the Afghan military that we've been trying to train is that they aren't as passionate about doing the work. They're fearful.
It's not just that. They also aren't talking about the one little dirty secret. They have a lot of these guys and women got hooked on opium. There's a really bad situation with that. There's no, like, it isn't just about giving people a regimented way to live. It's about giving them possibilities and hope. And they never really did get rid of the Taliban. I mean, already the Taliban has been threatening Malala, the girl who had been, back to their old tricks. You didn't do shit. It's like Vietnam all over. And the saddest part is we had many young men and women who died in that war, and not there. I don't know if the president, if they can't stand on their own as their own country, we can't stand on our own. America ain't looking too good. So right now, the situation is y'all got to work it out, because we've done all we can to fuck up your country. So, but we got to go. That's basically what happened. There's nothing more here for us to do. The Silk Road's already been built. America got tapped out of that game. There's no more reason for them to stay there.
No. And you've got Republicans blaming Biden, but guess what? Biden's only finishing what Trump started.
We need to look at why anybody would want to withdraw, because you got to ask, why were we there in the first place?
Exactly.
And that ship sailed when Trump was in office. It sailed. Deals were made. We weren't inked on them. And they had to close that up. And now Afghanistan's going to have a lot of drug addicts. And you could see it was going to be a mess when they weren't even getting the translators out. They knew.
Jill froze.
Yeah, she did freeze for a moment, but continue on. Go ahead.
But Trump made some bad deals in Afghanistan, some bad business deals that also got us into trouble. Barack Obama tried to get us out, and what happened? Taliban insurgents, and that.
So why has Afghanistan been a thorn in the side for America for so long? Like, obviously it isn't anymore, because now the only way they can change they have to go in there physically, and I can't see that happening. No,
but I think the reason really was because they looked at the origins of the people who hijacked those planes on 9/11. That was it.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow.
And that was the only reason. George Bush made this whole thing. We are going to go get those, the people who bombed us. We're going to go get them.
Get them. Yeah. Get them. Okay.
And that was it. That was the only reason that we went there in the first place. And honestly, I think that the plan in the Bush administration was to use Afghanistan as a means of getting into Iraq.
Wow.
To get to Saddam Hussein as retaliation for what Saddam Hussein threatening to kill his father.
There you go. Well, let's go to our final conversation piece tonight. We are having, Jill is obviously having some technical difficulties. If we get her back before the end of the conversation, we will. If not, we'll be closing out in a few moments. We always have a cockroach, and Aisha actually brought up this story as the cockroach story. So give us some background on this one. Maureen Dowd for her piece. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a New York Times reporter, if you can call her that. But she writes these opinion pieces, and she's written quite a few pieces about Trump, very favorable to Trump. And she's written about society, people in their parties, and she's been very flattering to them. But she wrote a hit piece on Obama's 60th birthday party. Mind you, it was on 30 acres of land. Everyone there was vaccinated, required to be vaccinated, and pretty much kept their distance and things like that. And she basically, she labeled his party as an orgy for the 1% and called it racist bull, whatever. And it gave me, I'm pissed because I was invited vibes, usually gets invited to these high society parties and things like that. But it gave me petty, mean girl kind of vibes. It's like if she could call him an uppity Negro, she probably would have,
Really, like,
yeah. And just, I mean, it was so raucous in terms of how she just went after him. And you had people who really just disliked Obama agreeing with her. I read the article, and I was just like, how mad are you that you didn't get to go? Because it sounded like a great party. And it was like she was mad that Obama had money and got to live his best life. And
clickbait. Is this like a clickbait story, you think?
No, it's an actual opinion piece in the New York Times, legitimate opinion piece.
So did it sound to you more like she was happy? She was not happy because she wasn't invited?
Yes, that's what it sounded like to me.
Wow.
That's exactly what it sounded like to me, because it's like this was the party of the summer.
And she
was left out.
No.
She called it racist because he had quite a few Black people there. Quite a few high-profile Black people there. Like Jay-Z and Beyonce was there.
Something wrong with that?
Well, white people gonna white people.
Okay. All right.
Oh my gosh, how dare you be
so Blue Rains has a question asking, has she always been anti-Obama?
Yes, she has. Well, no, I can't say she hasn't. Yeah, she has always been anti-Obama, but she's definitely been pro-Trump.
Okay. All right. So that spells it out. All right. Well, we're not going to keep you any longer because I know you're on your way back to good health. Also, Blue Rain, for our last piece in regards to Afghanistan, Blue Rain said, and don't forget Bush was trying to avenge for his father.
Yep. Like I said, he was using Afghanistan to get into Iraq to avenge for his father.
All right. Well, we are done another episode of Staggers State of Thing. Oh, nope, I think someone's coming back.
State of Things with Aisha and Jill.
Look who's back.
Blew a fuse.
You're kidding me. What's
everything
going
just
on
turned
there?
off. I think it's the neighbor. It's just shorts. The heat.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow. Well,
I
at
didn't
least.
turn the air back on. I was like,
Oh
okay.
my. Well, we won't keep you that long.
No, it's okay.
Because,
I'm sorry
okay.
it took so long.
We just
No,
talked
it's
about
okay.
Maureen
The
Dowd.
Wi-Fi and everything had to reset.
Yeah, you had
back
to
on.
reboot it. We just finished talking about Maureen Dowd. Did you want to add anything to that? Oh, okay. Let me bring this. I saw Jill's face. Go ahead, Jill.
I know that what was his first chief of staff who wrote the book that had the conversation that when Maureen Dowd was flying with the president and they had on the plane.
That's right.
And he had asked her to come up. She wanted an interview, and they gave her one on US One or Air Force One. And she came up and she started sort of going at him. And they said that President Obama just sort of turned to her and said, because she always made snipes at him from day one, always.
Okay.
And so she got very upset that he attacked her on every article that she'd ever written about him. And he said, you never write about anything that I do that's good. You're always there to criticize me and blah, blah, blah. And to mention that she also, so they have bad history. And if anybody who gets under his skin the most, they say her. Of every journalist, he can't stand her. And it was in that guy with the slick black hair. I forget his name. He was on his chief of staff or one of those guys. And he's friends with Maureen Dowd. So he knows what Maureen is about. But the biggest part of the problem, see, this is the problem I have too. They're all friends. You know what I'm saying? Because he said he was in Obama's office one time and President Obama said, why are you even friends with her? Because he mentioned that she had come over to his house for dinner. And, see, that's the stupid stuff too. When you hear that somebody who's working in the president's office, this is how stupid American politics is. And he didn't think that girl was using him to get more information and more dirt about President Obama to feed her life. That's who she is. She befriends people on the peripheral of people when she's going after them. And that's exactly what she did. And President Obama was exactly right to call her out on Air Force One and whatever and send her back to the back of the plane like she deserved to be. He should have, he did everything. I probably would have pushed her out.
Well, but, I knew that was coming from you.
But I think that she has it in for him, and for her to even go in after this whole thing about his birthday party. I mean, he cut it down. It was at the beginning when everybody has been vaccinated. She factored in how many people legitimately have had their tests. And these are rich people that are paying for their tests, probably Obama's people and whatever. And there's just a lot of preparation that goes with it. He doesn't do anything half-assed. So I don't understand. She's got a racist bone in her body. She's always had an issue with a black man being president. There's no other way to say it. That's who she is. And,
she wasn't invited.
And she wasn't invited. And then they got the quote from Andre Leontali, who we all know was, I've
also
known
not
Andre.
Invited.
He wasn't invited. And I knew him in Paris briefly. And he was always up under Anna Wintour's thing. So the same women, same type, same white women. He gave her a quote where he said, and he's the one who put Antoinette at the back of it. And that's Andre. He's charming, he's witty, he's sarcastic, and he's also sometimes incredibly ruthless and spiteful. And that showed. But they dragged him last night on Twitter too, because I did go and I had to look it up because I was like, it's like, it's just kind of crazy how people paint themselves in their lives, the way they want to portray themselves. So with Maureen, it was pretty transparent what she was doing. And she really came for him. And my question to her would be like, girl, get over it. Get over it.
Mine was like, are you big mad or little mad?
Yeah, because she's a part of the system and she didn't ever write hit pieces like that on Trump. So it's if that was her character and it was what she was known for as a journalist, and you went, oh, she always does this to everybody. She doesn't like she doesn't like presidents, none of them. She thinks they're all shady. Then I would give her, okay, that's just who she is. but she's not like that. She didn't step up when it mattered, and when being a journalist or some like stupid little gossipy reporter, because that's all she is. She's a trash writer, and her opinion really doesn't matter, because who is she? She's a freaking nobody, and she'd only be the only reason she's somebody is because she goes after somebody's. She is a sycophantic, shoddy journalist hack who just rides on the coattails by insulting other people and never having anything good to say, and it pays for her all the work that she's had done. So
and I mean, she really,
and her Botox.
Yeah, she really did not like seeing Obama live his best life.
No. And that's what I want him to keep on doing it, because, I know it makes her mad.
As she sips her little concoction.
I had to get some lemon tea.
All right. Well, ladies, again, another epic conversation as always. Guess what's happening on the 21st, ladies?
A question and answer. Q&A.
Ask us anything. I'm sorry I should have ran it during our conversation, but we've had an uptake of people come on at the end of our conversation, which is nice. Very nice. And like to thank everyone who watched us live on the replay. But big thing, Saturday, August 21st, 9 p.m. We're all here. Ask us anything. Ask us anything. Doesn't mean we're going to answer to everything, but ask us anything.
You can ask. Yeah.
You can ask. Ask us anything, and we'll have some fun with it. So please, for people who are watching live on the replay or listening on the replay, wherever you are watching this live, whether it's the Dr. Vibe Show Facebook, YouTube, or if you're watching on Periscope on my Twitter feed. We look forward to this conversation. Ask us anything. And we'll see what attire Jill is wearing that night. They'll tell us what sort of mood she's going to be in for these questions. I
might be in my pajamas.
Oh, hey, that works. And she just clicked herself off. But either maybe another fuse blew. I don't know. Let's see here. Jen says another great show. Blue Rain says, great show. Feel better soon, Aisha.
Thank you.
Yes, also. Oh, and she's back. What are you doing?
I don't know. Then I just hit a button and I just went away. So the other one was legit, but this one was just a goof up.
Also want to thank Black Beauty, T. Stevens. Thank you, everyone, for watching live on the replay or listening on the replay. And as we said, we know that Aisha is going to be in beautiful health next week.
Yes.
But first things first, if we want to get a hold of Jill Jones, how do we do that?
I am at Jill D. Jones Twitter, and I like this new little red headline thing. The footer.
You like the orange?
Yeah.
You like the orange lower third? Thank you so much. Next up, Aisha K. Staggers.
You can get me at Aisha Staggers on Twitter.
Wonderful. So, folks, and if you want to get a hold of C'est moi, the best place to go is the Dr. Vibe Show. Yeah, the drvibeshow.com. As always, I like to say thank you. I like to say thank you too much, but I don't take it for granted because all you family take your time to watch us. So I appreciate and don't take it for granted. As always, I like to end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. We hope you can make it for the 21st. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. I wonder who's going to get the most questions asked of them. We'll see. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good. And everyone, say good positive words for Aisha's recovery. Good night.